The fire that was stolen is burning again. Some enemies bowed, others prepared to fight. But this time, they would face a united galaxy. Elira had one final mission. She ordered the celestial crown to return to the remains of old Zerion, her homeworld, now a ruined husk of burned cities and broken skies. The ship descended slowly, touching down near the ruins of the old palace. Jack walked beside her in silence as they stepped onto the cracked stones. Elira stood still, looking at the wreckage of her childhood. Trees turned to ash, fountains frozen in time. But then, she knelt and pressed her hand to the ground. The mark of her family still glowed beneath the soil, deep, hidden energy veins. She whispered, "This is where it begins again." Rebuilding started that same week. Royal AI bots activated old terraforming systems. Ships brought seeds, water, technology. Messages flew across space. And slowly, people began to return. Some were Zerion refugees who had hidden in far-off colonies. Others were humans, traders, explorers, survivors of war. They came because they believed. Because the galaxy had seen the impossible. A lost princess, saved by a human. Weeks later, a massive gathering took place above New Zerion. A council of hundreds of species, cameras, transmissions, music. Elira stood on a grand platform, with Jack by her side. She looked out over the crowd, then spoke into the mic. "I was not strong enough alone. But together, with all of you, we are something more." She turned to Jack. He didn't have royal blood. He wasn't trained in war. He was a miner, a fixer, a man from a forgotten planet. But he reminded me what we fight for. Not thrones, not power. People. The crowd erupted in cheers. Elira raised her hand. And for the first time in generations, the royal banner of Zerion flew over a free world. Later that night, Jack sat alone on a rooftop, watching the stars. Elira found him there. "Still don't like crowds," she teased. "Never did," he said. She sat beside him. They were quiet for a while. Then Jack asked, "So, what now?" Elira looked up. "There's still work. Peace doesn't keep itself." He nodded. "You'll be a good queen." "I won't be a queen," she said softly. Jack looked at her, surprised. "I'll be something better. A leader, a builder, a protector." She smiled. "And I want you to help me." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Me? What can I do now?" Elira stood, offering her hand. "You gave me back my life. Now I want you beside me, as I give others theirs." He took her hand. And in that moment, a miner from nowhere and a princess from a dead world stood together at the edge of something new. Not just rebuilding a kingdom, but rebuilding hope. Across the galaxy, people would tell the story, the legend, of a dying alien woman who fell from the sky, and the human who saved her. The rise of the princess. Silence stretched across the galaxy. Where once the Black Guard's shadow ruled space, there now floated wreckage, cold, drifting metal. The warship of General Varnack, once feared by entire star systems, was nothing more than glowing debris scattered among the stars. And at the heart of the forbidden nebula, the golden fleet of Zerion hovered once more. Awake, alive, led by a princess long thought dead. Inside the royal flagship, the celestial crown, the atmosphere was calm, but electric. The ship's systems had returned to full strength. Medical bots moved through the halls. Defense grids shimmered. Royal flags were restored, shining with colors not seen in decades. Jack Ryden stood on the observation deck, hands in his pockets, staring at the stars. He still wore his old miner jacket. It was torn, stained with smoke and oil. He looked out of place among the shining walls of a royal ship, but he didn't care. He'd helped win a war and saved a legacy. Behind him, soft footsteps echoed. Elira stepped forward, now wearing full royal armor, sleek, silver, and marked with the Zerion crest. A long blue cloak trailed behind her, a symbol of her bloodline and her return. Jack turned to her and smiled. "You clean up nice." Elira smiled back, but her eyes were distant, heavy. She stood beside him, looking out at the drifting remains of the battle. "My people are gone, Jack," she said quietly. "I have ships. I have AI. But no real voices remain. I am the last." Jack looked at her, then reached into his jacket. He pulled out a small device. With a click, it lit up. A message display. Hundreds of voices. From distant colonies, from refugee ships, from hidden outposts. Messages from aliens, humans, survivors, rebels, people who saw the golden light return. They were calling her name. Elira. The true heir. The princess lives. Hope rises. Tears filled Elira's eyes. Jack whispered, "You're not the last. You're the first of something new." They walked together down the corridor, headed toward the main hall. The doors opened with a deep hum. Inside, the throne room of the celestial crown had come back to life. Tall windows opened to the stars. Lights pulsed softly. The high throne, untouched for decades, stood waiting. Dozens of AI units, holographic officers, and loyal droids lined the path. They all turned as Elira entered. She paused, then slowly walked forward. Jack stood at the back, watching. As she approached the throne, the ship spoke aloud for all to hear. Identity confirmed. Elira of Zerion, heir to the crown. Last of the bloodline. Will you accept your legacy? Elira closed her eyes. She thought of her parents, her people. Jack. She took a deep breath. "I will." She stepped onto the platform and sat upon the throne. The lights across the entire fleet turned gold. Zerion had a ruler once again. But the war wasn't over. Not yet. Elira called a war council. Jack sat beside her, not as a soldier, not as a noble, but as a trusted voice, a human who had earned his place not by blood, but by choice. Across the galaxy, Varnack's lieutenants were retreating. Power was breaking apart. Worlds were freeing themselves. Elira sent messages of peace, but also warnings. The throne lives. The fleet has returned. Begin with their flagship. Crush their hope first. Back on the celestial crown, Jack's console lit up. Incoming missile. "Brace yourselves," he shouted. A second later, the ship shook violently. Lights flickered. Dust rained from the ceiling. "Shields at 78%, Elira said. "That was one shot," Jack shouted. "How do we stop him?" Elira turned, her eyes sharp. "We use what he doesn't have." Jack blinked. "What's that?" She pointed to him. "You, a human mind. Unpredictable. Creative." Jack chuckled. "Well, lucky for you, I'm full of bad ideas." They launched the first wave. 10 royal cruisers, sleek and fast, flew in a spiral formation, weaving through Varnack's fire. Jack had suggested it. Don't attack in lines. Make it look like a dance. The enemy was confused. Their targeting systems struggled. 3 enemy ships fell before they adjusted. Elira moved between command panels like she'd never been away. She called out orders in her native tongue. The crew, robots, and AI systems responded with perfect timing. Jack coordinated the outer defenses. He turned mining drones into guided torpedoes. He routed ship heat through false exhaust ports to trick Varnack's scans. And he used the nebula itself, magnetic storms, gravity pulses, to create a shield of nature around the fleet. Every trick he'd learned as a miner, a fixer, a survivor, he used them all. But Varnack's ship was too strong. It tore through the front line. One of the royal destroyers exploded, screaming into the void. Jack shouted, "We need to take that beast out." Elira's eyes burned. "We can't match his size. but we can use his pride. Jack's eyes lit up. You're thinking what I'm thinking. Probably not, she smirked. But try me. They formed a trap. Jack called it the collapse. Elira's ships pretended to retreat, slowly, painfully. Varnack followed, believing he had broken them. But Jack had guided them into a part of the nebula where the magnetic fields were unstable. There, he planted explosive mines, hidden inside the wreckage of old ships. When Varnack entered the zone, Jack gave the command. Boom! Space rippled. 3 of Varnack's escorts vanished in fire. His main ship was shaken, thrown sideways by the shockwave. Elira's fleet returned, this time firing with everything they had. Inside the enemy ship, Varnack screamed, "Find the human. Bring me his head." Jack watched the chaos unfold. It wasn't a full win, but it gave them space. His ships hurt, Jack said. Now's the time. Elira hesitated. There's a secret on board the Celestial Crown, she said quietly. A weapon. Jack turned. What kind of weapon? Royal protocol. A last resort cannon, powered by the hare's life force. Jack froze. You mean, it'll kill you? Elira nodded. It's the only thing that can pierce his core. Jack stepped forward. Then we're not using it. You don't get to choose, she said. Jack's voice rose. No, I won't save you just to watch you die. Elira looked at him for a long time. Then she whispered, Then help me find another way. They raced to the ship's inner engine bay. There, in the deep core, Jack found something else. A power surge system, built centuries ago, meant to charge the main cannon, but not through Elira. I can reroute it, Jack said. Use the ship's own energy. It's unstable, Elira warned. It could kill us both. Jack shrugged. Well, I've had worse dates. They worked fast. Cables sparked. Lights flickered. The ship groaned under pressure. But slowly, the cannon began to glow. Back in the command center, Elira stood at the front console. Varnack's ship turned, charging its own weapons. He was coming for them. Jack connected the wires. Now, Elira gave the order. The cannon fired. A beam of golden light exploded from the front of the flagship. Clean, precise, ancient. It tore through space. It struck Varnack's ship dead center. The warship shook, cracked, and then exploded. A silent bloom of fire filled the stars. The crew screamed. The fleet roared. Varnack's terror was over. Silence. Elira sat down slowly. She looked at Jack. You did it, she whispered. No, he said. We did it. The screen lit up again. All across the galaxy, signals were coming in. Fleets, planets, colonies. They had seen it. The royal banner rising again. Hope was returning. And at the heart of it all was a human, a nobody from a mining world. A man who fixed things. Jack Ryden. He looked at her. They're going to keep coming. You know that, right? Elira nodded. I know. She walked to the back of the ship and sat beside the memory crystal. Then she touched it. A wave of energy filled the room. Jack felt it before he saw it. Visions. The crystal showed Elira's memories. He saw a golden palace in the clouds. A tall man with a kind face. Her father, the king, laughing with her as a child. A garden full of flying birds with rainbow feathers. Then, fire. Soldiers storming the halls. The queen, Elira's mother, hiding her in a secret tunnel. Run, my star. Never forget who you are. Then blackness. Jack opened his eyes. Elira sat still, eyes closed. Tears rolled down her cheeks. He didn't say anything, just sat beside her. Finally, she spoke. They took everything from me. Jack nodded slowly. They're trying to take everything from everyone. She looked at him. But we're still here. He smiled. Yeah, and I don't plan on going anywhere. Suddenly, the ship's light turned gold. Elira stood. It's near. Jack ran to the window. Ahead, something glowed. Not just light. Ships. Dozens of them. Sleeping giants. Golden hulls. Royal flags faded but still flying. Engines cold. Waiting. The last fleet of Zerion. Jack's jaw dropped. You actually found it. Elira walked to the main console and placed the crystal into the core. A deep sound echoed through the ship. The fleet began to wake up. Engines hummed. Shields lit up. Eye systems activated. One by one, the massive ships came to life, after decades of silence. And in the center, the flagship, the Celestial Crown, opened its bridge. Elira walked toward it. Jack followed, stunned. As they boarded the command deck, the AI spoke. Welcome, Princess Elira. Heir to the royal line. Identity confirmed. Elira stood tall. I have returned. Suddenly, a new signal lit up. Red. Fast. Approaching. Jack's heart sank. No. Elira's eyes narrowed. The flagship's screen zoomed in. A ship larger than any they'd seen. Black armor. Red engines. Glowing weapons. Varnack's warship. He followed us, Jack whispered. Elira turned to the fleet's controls. No more running, she said. It's time. Jack looked at her. Time for what? She raised her chin. To take back the stars. The awakening of the fleet. The golden ships of Zerion had not stirred in years. They had waited, silent, asleep, in the shadows of the forbidden nebula, waiting for a voice, a heartbeat, a spark. Now, the voice had returned. Elira. She stood at the center of the flagship's bridge, the Celestial Crown, her cloak rippling behind her, eyes fixed on the glowing controls. Jack Ryden stood beside her, surrounded by consoles and unfamiliar alien tech. It looked like magic, but to him, it felt like opportunity. Ahead, on the giant view screen, a black shape grew larger. General Varnack's warship. The fleet's ancient enemy had arrived. Jack broke the silence. He's got enough firepower to wipe out a moon. Elira's jaw tightened. That ship was once ours. He stole it during the fall. Jack looked around the golden bridge. So how do we fight back? We've got beauty and rust. He's got armor and death. Elira placed her hand on the console again. It scanned her, recognized her, responded. A low hum filled the bridge. Lights blinked to life across the fleet. Ships aligned. Weapons powered on. Shields activated. The fleet is old, she said, but it was built to protect the galaxy. It just needs a captain. Jack raised an eyebrow. That's you, right? She looked at him and said softly, No, it's us. Back on Varnack's ship, the general stood tall, arms folded behind his back. His red cybernetic eyes scanned the glowing image of the royal fleet. He sneered. She dares wake the dead. An officer turned to him. Shall we fire, Commander? Varnack nodded once. Cheers echoed from the outpost walls. Elira's voice returned over the speakers. This world is under my protection. You will not take another step. Inside the blackguard ship, the captain realized the tide had turned. He gave one last order. Detonate the outpost. Wipe it from the surface. A guard ran to the ship's terminal, but something flashed on their screen. A virus. A royal seal. Elira had hacked their mainframe. Goodbye, she said softly into their comms. The enemy ship exploded from the inside. A blast of blue fire lit the sky. When the dust cleared, the outpost still stood, burned, cracked, smoking, but still standing. Jack walked out, covered in dirt, his clothes torn. He looked like a miner again. But inside, something had changed. He wasn't just Jack the repairman anymore. He was Jack the fighter. Elira stood beside him, her face lit by the fire. You held them back, she said. We held them back. Jack corrected. They looked up at the stars. Jack pulled out the memory crystal. "It's time," he said. "Let's find that fleet." But far above, deep in the black sky, a larger shadow moved. A ship 10 times the size of the others. Inside, a tall figure watched the destruction. General Varnack. His red eyes glowed. "So, the princess lives." He turned to his officers. "Follow them. I want her brought to me. Alive." Journey through the forbidden nebula. The stars were endless. Black velvet skies stretched across the galaxy, lit only by tiny pinpricks of white. Far below, the desert planet where Jack and Alira had made their stand was fading into the distance. The stolen blackguard ship hummed quietly as it flew through deep space, set on a new course, toward the forbidden nebula. Jack Ryden sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the map. His fingers moved slowly, guiding the ship through old, half-deleted star paths. Beside him sat Alira, wrapped in her cloak, her face pale but strong. Her eyes, those deep violet eyes, were focused ahead. Inside her mind, the crystal map pulsed. Not just a memory, a compass, a ghost trail left by her ancestors. Jack broke the silence. "You sure we're heading the right way?" Alira nodded. "The nebula hides many things, but it cannot hide from royal blood." Jack looked doubtful. "You know, back on Earth, we call this place a death trap. Pilots vanish here. Ships drift into nothing. Nobody returns." She looked at him, calm, certain. "We will." As the ship neared the nebula, colors began to dance across the sky. Purple clouds, streaks of red lightning, golden light pulsing from deep inside. Jack had never seen anything like it. It was beautiful and terrifying. His scanner blinked. "Warning. Navigation loss. Gravity shift-detcted. We're flying blind," Jack muttered. Alira walked to the control panel and placed her palm on the surface. Symbols glowed, and suddenly the ship stopped shaking. The royal ships used this nebula for hiding. They made paths only my blood can unlock. Jack raised an eyebrow. "You royalty types sure love secrets." Alira smiled faintly. "Secrets keep people alive." They passed into the first layer. The nebula swallowed the stars. Outside, mist curled like living fog. Lights blinked in the dark, some moving, some still. Then Jack saw them. Old ships, wrecks, dozens of them. Some were human, others alien, all broken, all drifting. "This place is a graveyard," Jack whispered. Alira looked away. "No, this place is a memory." Suddenly, alarms screamed. "Incoming OBGCTs, fast AP approach, hostile SAGNL, DETCTE." Jack jumped up. "We've got company." 3 small attack ships flew out of the mist, shaped like knives, painted black with glowing red stripes. Blackguard scouts. "They followed us," Alira said. Jack took the controls. "I'll lose them in the dust." The chase began. The stolen ship darted through the fog, weaving between dead ships and gas clouds. Plasma blasts flew past their tail. Jack gritted his teeth. "Hang on." He flipped the ship through a wrecked cruiser, flying sideways through a narrow gap. The blackguard followed. One clipped the edge and exploded in a burst of fire. "One down," Jack grinned. Alira focused on the map. "There's a tunnel ahead, a star vein. It leads deeper." "Let's hope it's not a dead end," Jack muttered. They dove into the glowing tunnel. The walls shimmered with alien light. Energy danced around them. Jack had to fight the controls. The gravity shifted constantly. Left was up. Right was nowhere. Then, silence. The enemies were gone. Jack exhaled. Alira stood beside him, her hand still glowing with the royal pulse. That was too close. The human who fought back. The enemy had landed. Jack Ryden stood in the middle of his small outpost, eyes scanning the flickering monitors. Dust blew hard outside. Shadows moved across the desert like silent ghosts. 5 Blackguard ships had touched down. 10, maybe 15 soldiers. He didn't have soldiers. He didn't have weapons. But he had something else. His mind. Beside him, Illyra moved slowly. She still limped from her wounds, but her eyes were sharp now. Focused. Royal. Her breathing had grown stronger. Her energy returning. She wore the long cloak now, like she was born in it. "Are the drones ready?" she asked. Jack nodded. Wired, loaded, programmed, and pissed off. They shared a look. Tension, but also a spark of trust. "We only have one shot," Jack said. "Then let's make it count," Illyra replied. Plan Alpha was simple. Let them come, and then make them bleed. Jack activated the first drone cluster. 5 small mining bots rolled out of the base, half buried in sand. Their cores were loaded with explosives and high-frequency sound bursts. Old tools turned into weapons. Inside, Jack rewired the air vents to spread heat signatures, false signals. He placed decoy life signs all over the base. It would confuse their scanners. Meanwhile, Illyra connected herself to the security terminal. Her royal code overrode the outdated human tech. "Hacking into their language systems," she said. "Once they enter, I can disrupt their helmets." "You can speak their comms?" Jack asked. "I am their princess," she said with a half smile. "They don't know I'm alive, but they'll listen." Jack paused. "You sure you want to reveal yourself now?" Illyra's expression darkened. "They'd burned my world. It's time they know I survived." The enemy arrived at the gates. Tall figures in dark armor marched forward. Their black helmets covered their faces. Their weapons glowed red with plasma. Jack watched from the shadows, sweat dripping down his back. He whispered, "Here we go." The first soldier touched the outer gate. Boom! A hidden mine exploded under his feet, throwing him backward. Chaos began. Drones rolled in from the left, beeping fast, circling the guards. One of the Black Guard tried shooting them, but they exploded in a flash of blinding light, damaging their visors. 2 more soldiers went down, screaming. Inside the base, Illyra activated the internal speakers. Her voice, loud, royal, echoing across the battlefield. "This is Illyra of Zerion, first daughter of the crown. I am alive, and I remember everything." The guards froze. Even through armor, Jack could sense their panic. They thought she was dead. Now their worst fears stood alive, fighting back. The Black Guard regrouped. Their leader, a large figure with a blood-red stripe on his helmet, spoke in a deep voice. "Illyra, you should have stayed dead." Illyra replied coldly, "You should have stayed loyal." He raised his hand. "Burn the base." The guards opened fire. Plasma blasts rained down on the outpost walls. Metal melted. Dust filled the air. But Jack was ready. He activated the steel net, a trap made from old mining cable. It launched from the ceiling and wrapped around 3 soldiers, pulling them off their feet. Another hallway exploded as one guard stepped onto a pressure plate. Screams echoed. Jack grinned. "Welcome to the desert, boys." He ran through the halls, pulling levers, triggering defense systems he built in one night from scrap. The base was old, but it was smart now. His kind of smart. Illyra followed, sending out pulse commands that shut down enemy comms and flashed royal symbols across their visors. The soldiers began to hesitate. Some paused. Some trembled. They were trained killers, but they were seeing ghosts. Suddenly, the base shook. The enemy had brought in a heavy walker, a large mechanical unit used for demolitions. It stomped through the outer gates, firing heavy plasma rounds. Jack cursed. "They brought a damn tank." Illyra grabbed his arm. "There's one thing they don't have." "What?" "You." Jack ran through the underground maintenance shaft. He knew every inch of this place, every bolt, every pipe. He climbed up under the walker using an old lift. As the machine moved, Jack placed a small EMP device, something he built from broken parts, right under its joint. He dropped and rolled out of the way just before the EMP detonated. VZZZZ. The walker froze mid-step. Sparks flew. The driver inside screamed as the machine collapsed, face first, into the sand. Boom. She looked down at her glowing hands. The marks on her arms shimmered gently. I've been running ever since. Jack's thoughts twisted. And the people hunting you. They are Varnack's elite, she replied. The Black Guard. Trained to hunt rebels, to kill survivors, to erase all memory of the true bloodline. She touched her side, where she was still injured. They thought they killed me on Rezar IV, but I escaped. Jack's stomach turned. He realized something terrible. They said, if I hide you, I'm their enemy too. Elira's eyes met his. You are. Jack stood up and started pacing. His boots thumped on the steel floor. Why here? He asked. Why crash on my world? There's nothing here. Elira slowly walked to a console and placed her hand over it. The old mining computer flickered, then shifted. Its lights changed to deep gold. Strange alien symbols danced across the screen. The royal bloodline carries more than memory, she said. It carries maps, hidden data. In my DNA lies the location of the last fleet. Jack stared at her, stunned. The what? The royal fleet, she said softly. 50 ships, hidden in deep space, silent, waiting for the return of the heir. She looked at him. If I die, they'll never be found. Jack rubbed his face. This was too big. He was just a miner, an engineer, not a hero. I'm not a soldier, he said. I don't need a soldier, Elira said. I need someone with a good heart and a smart mind. Jack looked at her, surprised. You saved me, she said. You could have left me, but you didn't. He had no answer, only questions. Later that night, Jack couldn't sleep. He sat alone in the control room, watching the desert. The stars blinked above. Somewhere out there, death was flying toward them. Elira walked in quietly. She wore a long cloak now, found in the old storage lockers. It almost looked like a royal robe. I didn't mean to drag you into this, she said softly. Jack sighed. I think I was already in it the moment I pulled you out of that wreck. They both chuckled, just a little. Then she held something out to him. A small crystal, shining silver and blue. This is a memory core, she said. It carries part of my mind, my memories. If something happens to me, this will lead you to the fleet. Jack stared at it, stunned. You're giving this to me. I trust you, she said. Jack carefully took the crystal. As his fingers closed around it, the lights in the room flickered. He suddenly saw flashes. Images. A huge golden palace. A woman with silver eyes laughing beside a small girl. Armored guards kneeling. Fire. Explosions. Screaming. He gasped and dropped the crystal. Elira picked it up gently. It's not just a map, she said. It's also pain. Jack looked at her with new eyes. She had lost everything. And yet, she was still fighting. Suddenly, the perimeter alarm went off. Red lights flashed. Jack jumped up and checked the screen. More ships. 3. No. 5. Landing nearby. They were back. Elira's face turned pale. They brought a tracking unit. They know I'm here. Jack grabbed his tool belt and threw her a small pack of supplies. We need to hide you. Elira stopped him. Her voice was steady. No. If we run, they will follow. To the next world. And the next. This ends now. Jack blinked. What do you mean? We fight, she said. Jack raised an eyebrow. You sure you're strong enough to fight? I don't need strength, she said. I need a plan. That's where you come in. Jack chuckled. I fix machines, not lead battles. Elira looked around the base. Then let's turn this base into a trap. The two began working fast. Jack pulled out old mining drones, welding bots, and storage crates. He rigged pressure charges and tripwires. Elira hacked into the old defense system, giving it new commands in her alien language. We can hold them off, she said, but only for a short time. Jack nodded. That's all we need. He held up the crystal. We just have to survive long enough to follow this. Outside, the ground trembled. The enemy had landed. Dark shadows moved toward the outpost. But this time, Jack Ryden wasn't running. He was ready. He had heard that name once, in an old spacer's tale, a planet of light, culture, and royalty. Destroyed in a civil war, vanished without a trace. People said it was a myth. But if Elira was real, and Zerion was real, then she wasn't just an alien woman. She was something more. Early the next morning, Jack checked the outpost perimeter. The tracker was still blinking on the sidewall. They were watching him. As he turned to go back inside, he noticed something strange. Elira was standing in the hallway, barefoot, staring at a carved symbol on the wall, an old miner's insignia from when the base was first built. She reached out and touched it. The symbol glowed. Blue light pulsed from the wall, and a hidden panel opened. Jack's eyes widened. That's never happened before. Elira looked at him. For the first time, she seemed afraid. That mark, she whispered, is the royal seal. Jack blinked. What? This base, she said, was built by someone who knew my people, someone who once served the crown. Then she turned back to him, her eyes full of pain and fire. You don't understand, Jack. If they find me here, they will burn this world. The truth beneath the stars. Jack Ryden had never believed in fairy tales. He was a man of machines, wires, and hard metal. He believed in fuel lines and gravity, in engines and silence. He didn't believe in kings, queens, or lost worlds. But now, inside his old mining base, an alien woman stood in front of a glowing wall, her silver hand on a hidden royal symbol. And the wall had responded to her touch, like it had been waiting for her all these years. Elira stared at the blue light. Her face was calm, but her eyes were storming inside. This place, she whispered, was not just a mining base. It was once a safe haven, built long ago by a human engineer who protected my mother. Jack frowned. Your mother? She turned toward him slowly. My mother was the last true queen of Zerion. And I. Her voice trembled slightly. And the only heir. Silence filled the room. Jack stepped back, his mind racing. Wait. Are you telling me you're a princess? She said, finishing the word for him. Yes. Jack sat down hard on a nearby crate. He felt like the floor had dropped under him. This wasn't just a random alien girl who crash-landed on his desert doorstep. She was royalty. The kind that stories were written about. The kind that started wars. I thought Zerion was destroyed, Jack muttered. A civil war. Everyone died. The planet's gone. Elira nodded sadly. It is gone. Burned from the stars. My father was betrayed. The royal guards turned against him. A man named General Varnack seized the throne. But I was smuggled away by loyalists. And hidden. Shadows on the doorstep. The night was long, cold, and silent, except for the soft beeping of machines inside Jack Ryden's outpost. He hadn't slept. He sat near the alien woman's bedside, eyes fixed on her still form. Her breathing was slow, but steady now. Her skin glowed faintly in the dark. Blue light shimmered from the strange tattoos on her arms and neck. She looked peaceful, but the kind of peace that hides pain. Jack reached for his mug, took a sip of cold coffee, and rubbed his tired eyes. The desert outside was quiet again. The black ships had disappeared into the clouds, but he couldn't shake the feeling. They would return. Just before sunrise, Jack's motion sensor pinged again. Something, or someone, was coming. He rushed to the monitor. His heart dropped. A tall figure walked slowly toward the outpost gate, alone, armored, wearing the same dark gear as the one who came last night, but this time with no hesitation. A wide metallic rifle hung from his shoulder. The screen zoomed in on his helmet. Red lights blinked on its sides. A breathing mask covered his mouth. This one wasn't asking questions. He was searching. Jack grabbed his old plasma cutter and walked to the door. His fingers hovered over the lock panel. He forced himself to stay calm, just like yesterday. The intercom buzzed before he touched it. "Human, open your gate. Now." The voice was louder this time, commanding. No emotion. Jack took a deep breath and pressed the reply button. "This is private property. State your purpose." There was a pause. Then a new voice, different, softer, female, calm and chilling. "We believe a dangerous creature crashed near this location. If you hide her, you will be considered an enemy of the crown." Jack frowned. A second voice. Was someone else on the ship? He replied, "I haven't seen anyone. The desert is empty." Silence again. The figure stepped forward and placed a small drone on the ground. It flew up and began scanning the building. Jack's heart pounded. He had disabled outside scanners, but would it hold? The drone buzzed for several seconds, then returned to the armored figure. The voice spoke again, cold, flat. "For your sake, we hope you are not lying." The figure turned and walked away, but before leaving, he touched something on his wrist. Jack noticed it. A tracker. He was tagging the outpost. They would be back. Jack locked every door, window, and vent. Then he turned to Elira, the alien woman, still unconscious. "I don't know who you are," he said quietly, "but you've brought some serious trouble." As if she heard him, her hand twitched. Then her eyelids moved. Slowly, carefully, they opened. Her glowing violet eyes stared into his. Jack froze. "You're awake," he whispered. She blinked a few times, confused, disoriented. "Where am I?" Her voice was weak, dry. "Safe," Jack said. "For now." She tried to sit up, but winced in pain. "Don't move," Jack warned. "You're hurt. I fixed what I could. You crashed near my base." Elira looked around, confused. Her gaze stopped on the screen showing the desert outside. "You shouldn't have helped me," she said. "They'll kill you too." Jack shrugged. "Too late now." She gave a small, sad smile. Over the next few hours, Jack asked questions, carefully, slowly. Elira answered very little, but she did say her name. Elira. She had been running from something powerful, ancient, and cruel. She didn't explain who they were, but she called them the Black Guard. "They serve the throne, but not the true one," she said. Jack was confused. "You mean a king? A royal family?" Elira looked away. "There was once a family," she said. "Now there's only power." She turned toward the window. "They think I'm dead. I should be. But I survived, thanks to you." Jack didn't know what to say. That night, while Elira slept again, Jack studied the strange markings on her skin. He took a photo and scanned it through his database. Nothing came up. But when he connected the scan to his old universal translator, something strange happened. The translator lit up. A word flashed on the screen. "Hair." Jack stared. He quickly ran the scan again. Another result appeared. "Crown of Zerion." He leaned back in his chair. Zerion. The fire in the sky. The planet was dry, dusty, and forgotten. No one lived there except for one human, Jack Ryden. Jack was an engineer. He worked alone on a mining base on the edge of the galaxy. His job was simple: dig, repair machines, and send reports to Earth. He liked being alone. No noise, no people, just the wind, the sand, and the stars above. But one night, everything changed. It started with a strange sound in the sky, a deep hum, then a flash of red light. Jack stepped out of his shelter and looked up. Something was falling from the sky. Fast. It wasn't a meteor. It was too controlled, too shiny. It was a ship. The small craft crashed into the desert, about a mile from Jack's base. He hesitated. Should he go or stay safe? But something pulled him, a strange feeling in his chest. He grabbed his scanner, put on his breathing mask, and drove his sandbike into the stormy night. The ship was in pieces. Smoke rose into the dark sky. Jack moved carefully. Parts of the hull still glowed hot. Then he saw her. A body. A woman. She was lying near the wreckage, covered in silver dust. Her skin was pale blue. Her hair was long and silver, and her eyes, half open, glowed faintly. Jack knelt beside her. She was breathing, but barely. He scanned her. The scanner couldn't read her vitals. Wrong biology. She wasn't human. Suddenly, her hand grabbed his wrist. Weak, shaking. She whispered one word. Run. Then her eyes closed. Jack looked around. The storm was getting worse. He didn't know who she was or why she crashed, but something told him she was in danger. Real danger. He lifted her carefully and put her on his bike. Then he turned back toward his base. Back in his shelter, Jack placed her on the medical bed. The machine beeped, confused by her alien body. He did what he could. Gave her oxygen, cleaned her wounds, and covered her in a heat blanket. She didn't wake up. Jack stared at her. Who was she? Why did she crash here? What did she mean by run? He went outside to check the comms tower. Suddenly, his scanner beeped. Movement. In the sky, 3 dark ships were flying fast across the clouds, black and silent. No lights. Military style. Jack's heart raced. He turned off all outside lights and activated his base's shields. He had a bad feeling. Hours passed. Jack sat beside the sleeping woman. He noticed strange marks on her skin, glowing symbols, like writing. They looked ancient, important. Suddenly, the alarm buzzed. Someone was outside. Jack looked at the screen. A figure stood at the gate, tall, armored, with a helmet that covered his face. He held a scanner and tapped on the gate's lock panel. Jack pressed the intercom. "Who are you?" he asked. The voice that came back was cold and sharp. "I'm tracking a dangerous fugitive. A female. Blue skin. She's injured. Have you seen her?" Jack paused. His mind raced. Lie or tell the truth? "No," he said. "Haven't seen anyone in days." Silence. Then the figure nodded. "If you see her, report it. She's a traitor to the royal crown." And then he walked away, disappearing into the storm. Inside, Jack locked every door. He looked at the woman again. A traitor? She didn't look dangerous. She looked lost, hurt, scared. But now Jack knew one thing. Someone wanted her dead, and those ships weren't here to help her. They were here to hunt her. He sat down and sighed. He should report her, stay safe, stay out of it. But then he remembered her eyes, and the way she whispered, "Run." She wasn't just any alien. She was running from something powerful. Jack stood up and walked over to her. He wasn't going to leave her to die. Not tonight. But outside, far above the planet, a new ship entered orbit. Bigger, heavier. Its black hull blocked the stars. Inside, a voice spoke. "The princess is near. Prepare to burn the surface if needed."